Good morning, folks. Welcome back out to Dad's shop. I'm back out here today, and I know it's been, I don't know, I think it's been 4 or 5 weeks since I've done a video with a Coleman lantern in it. So today I'm going to do a video with a few Coleman lanterns in it. It's been well over a month ago now. My Uncle Bob called me and said, hey, I'm going to an auction. They got some Coleman lanterns for sale at the auction. And I asked him what they look like, and he said they're rough. I said, how rough? And he said, they're pretty rough. But he's like, what would you pay for them? And I said, well, I'll pay 10 bucks a piece for anything that doesn't, if it looks like it's all there and doesn't have broken glass. So we'll just start opening up a couple of these to show you what I got as I'm talking here. So the next day he actually went to the auction. He had gone the day before to look stuff over. The next day he actually went to the auction. He ends up texting me that morning and said, I bought you 7 lanterns. And I was like, oh yeah, how much you pay for them? And this is all through text. And he said, is $11 too much? And I'm thinking, $11 a piece? I hope I don't have $77 in these lanterns. So I said $11 a piece. He's like, no, $11 total. But several of the lanterns were in the, I'm not even trying to get this out of the case yet. We're in the basement of a house that flooded. And they obviously were. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can get this out of the bottom of the plastic case without breaking it. Oh, there we go, there it came out. But they are in bad shape. But I got 7 of them for $11, and a couple of them I think might be able to be saved. Actually, one of the 7 is at my house now. I forgot to even bring it back out, but one of them is a 2004 propane lantern that's brand new. It's never even been lit in a case, so that was worth more than what we paid for the whole lot. And this particular one, I don't know if the camera will be able to pick it up, but even though this is a 220H from the 70s, it's got a green sunrise globe. I was looking to see if it was an actual Coleman globe or replacement, and I couldn't find anything on it, so I took it out and cleaned it enough, and I could see it's a Coleman green sunrise globe. So I've got a lantern at home from the 50s that deserves that globe. That I would have paid more than $11 for. Listen to that. There's still water in the bottom of that case. Apparently these are in a flood, and then they just got left in there, so we'll probably, these are definitely parts lanterns. I've said before, I don't know where I draw the line to say that they're no good anymore, but most of these I know are on the far side of that line for sure. That's the first one out of the 7. Like I said, the one I got at home, so I can't show that. Here's another one out of the 7. It's a Coleman propane. It's been underwater too. I don't know if I'll ever try to do anything with it. It probably, I don't know. The gas valve having been underwater is probably no good. But it's got a decent case and might have parts if I had another one that I needed. The fuel knob or something like that. I'm sure there's something on it that could be worth saving for the future. And here's another one, a little, I think it's a 288. I don't know, it might even be a 286. I can't even see through the glass to see if it's a single or double mantle. And I can't read anything on the collar of it, but it had this parts safe on the bottom of it, and it is so crusty where that parts safe is. I'm pretty sure if I pushed hard I could poke my thumb right through it. It is in bad shape, so that'll be just a parts lantern, but it's got one of the smaller size picket fence globes, no cracks or no breaks, so that was worth getting. I pried the parts safe off of what's left of this poor crusty bottom on there, and there's a striker that'll never work again. There's 1, 2, 2 new ball nuts, a wrench that'd probably break if you tried to use it, but a brass cap, brass fuel cap, and I don't know if I can dump this in some water over here and show you this, but it's in pretty rough shape, but I'll put it in my little toolkit. I don't think there's anything left in it either. I don't know if you can even read it, but Coleman lubricant for pumps, neat's foot oil, a little tube. I'll try to clean that up a little bit more without taking what's left of that Coleman logo off of there. So that's kind of neat. But that's another one. Might be able to save the cap, save the ball nut off the top of it. Actually, the vent on this one doesn't look horrible. So there might be a few usable parts. The glass is good. Most likely, it'll just get hung up in the rafters with the rest of them that we call parts. I usually don't part them out and just put the parts in a box. We just hang the whole damn thing up, and then later on when you need a part off of it, just go grab the lantern and take the part off of it. It's just as easy as parting it out now and storing all the parts and then not being able to find them later on when you need them. Okay, here's one more in a case. I'll use these cases. I made a video. I can put a link to the video of how I fix these cases so that I don't worry about them dropping my lantern. So here's another one in a case. I cleaned the glass up on it just enough to see what it is, and it's a Coleman red letter Pyrex, but it's actually got, yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess that top is just kind of setting on there. It's got a sticker on it from Pomida, and the sticker's not scorched at all, so I'm guessing the lantern's never been lit since that was put in there. And same story on this one. I've not even tried to take it out of the case. It lifts out of there, nothing in the bottom of the case, but it's so crusty, I'm not going to do anything with it. It may have some parts that could be scavenged off of it. I don't know. It's I haven't even cleaned it up enough to see. It's a soup can model, but I haven't cleaned it up enough to try to see what year it might be. Honestly, I don't know. You'll probably never be able to clean it up enough to see exactly what year it is, but 220F. Yeah, it's just rust falling off of it. So another parts lantern. This doesn't even have a ball nut on the top of it, but who knows? Some of the parts on the burner assembly if you needed it. The knob. It's got a 3-piece cap that the screw's about rusted off, but the rest of the cap would be usable if you needed it. There's definitely some parts there, but poor thing's just got... They must have been in a basement that flooded, and then after the flood went down, they just laid in there for another few years, rusting away. I will end up, like I said, I'll reuse these cases for a lantern that I do want to keep protected. Now, out of all this, here's the 2 out of this bunch that, other than the brand new propane one, that I forgot to bring back out here. Here's the 2 that will probably, this one obviously didn't go through the flood. 220J, I might be able to read the date on the bottom of that one. Yeah, February 79. It's all there. Very dusty. It's been hanging somewhere dry for a long time. Glass isn't broken. I never tried pumping it, but I'd be shocked if it... Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's doing anything, but the knobs turn. The fuel cap, I did have it broke loose and tighten it back down. It doesn't smell like gas. The inside of the tank looks clean. This one will be a runner for sure. But that's not the one I'm going to work on today either. The one I'm going to try to get running today is a little worse shape than that. It did go through the flood. But my Uncle Bob that picked all these up for me said he'd like to see if I could get this one to go. Well, it's a 200A, 8 of 59. The glass is not broken on it, but it is rough. I don't even know if I'll be able to get the screws out to try to get the pump to turn. The pump is seized up. Honestly, I think for today, I may not even touch that. I'm gonna pressurize this with one of my Amish fuel caps. And once I've got pressure in it, I'm gonna do a dunk test on it and see if it's leaking anywhere. And I'm gonna pressurize it good. I'm gonna pump it up about 45 PSI and dunk it in a bucket of water and do a dunk test. If it, like, I don't know, it's got some significant rust in places. If it survives the dunk test, I'll clean it up a little bit more and see if we can make it go. If it's bubbling in a dunk test, then maybe we'll try to get that other one going just so we get a lantern going for today, because I think the other one's going to be pretty easy. But I'm going to go get one of my Amish fuel caps. I'm going to get a few tools to start tearing this thing apart and see if I think this poor thing might be salvageable. Okay, first things first, let's see if this, they got the ball nut on here upside down. You see that every once in a while on a lantern. See if that'll even turn. No, not at all. We're off to a bad start. When the very first part you try to turn is seized up, that's not a good sign. It's almost like these things aren't meant to be stored underwater. I'm guessing that little bit of WD-40 is not going to help. Okay, let's heat this up a little bit, see if it makes any difference. If we can't even get the ball nut off the top of it without breaking something, then I'm not very hopeful that this thing's gonna come back to life. But Uncle Bob said he'd like to see this one going, so I'm gonna at least give it a try. He was nice enough to go to the auction and stand around and bid on it for me while I was at the auction where I bought that John Deere engine and several kerosene lanterns. We'll heat this up good and we'll see what happens here. Oh, there it goes. Came right free. It was just too cold. I guess maybe it'd be easier to turn that. And drop that in that bucket of water. We got a bucket of water waiting over here to do a dunk test if we get that far on this. Poor old bale's just crusty. Whew. Everything you remove, it makes it look a little worse. That poor old thing is crusty. But the glass is not broken. Look how much dirt and rust is on the inside of that glass. That's crazy. I'm just gonna put that whole glass down in that bucket of water and let it start soaking until I need to try to get this lantern in there. Now the burner assembly I'm not that worried about. The inside of the tank should be fine. Water shouldn't have been able to get in there. The generator, if it's messed up, I've got new old stock 200A generators, so I'm not worried about that. I just don't know about the valve assembly and stuff. Theoretically, none of that should have got any water into it, so it might be okay. I don't know about, let's pop the fuel cap off. I didn't bring my borescope camera out here. I need to just leave that here. I don't ever use it at home, so I need to just leave it here. But boy, I don't know if I can even get the fuel cap to break loose on this poor old thing. And I know people are probably cringing that I'm putting channel locks on the fuel cap. but I don't think I'm going to get it off otherwise. Oh man, that is not looking good. I hate to put heat on a fuel tank, but my guess is this has not had any fuel in it in a long time. So I'm going to heat up that fuel cap a little bit. See if that helps, but I don't know if I can even get the fuel cap off of this thing. And by looking at that pump, I'm not hopeful about getting that pump to come around, so I think the only chance of making this thing work for right now might be putting my Amish fuel cap on it. I'm not terribly worried about harming the paint on this poor old thing. I think it's past that point in its existence. Unfortunately, it's looking more and more like it may be parts for something else in the future. Oh man. Well, that might just be a sign that this just needs to be retired. It does have usable parts though. It's not like people would say throw it away, but it's got good glass. The burner assembly is fine. It'll clean out. There's nothing in there. The valve assembly, it's not going to be rusty. Probably be able to save all of that for another lantern if you needed it. But I'm just afraid even if I got that off, as crusty as this fount is, it's just not gonna come back to life, I'm afraid. I'm sure I could put more effort into it, try harder to make it work, but we've also got hundreds of lanterns. How bad do I really need to bring this one back to life? So what I'm gonna do is clean up this glass a little bit. I'll pause the camera, go back to the bathroom, clean up the glass, run a little bit of water over the lantern, clean it up a little bit, put it all back together to make it look a little more presentable to hang up on the shelf out there, or hang up on one of the rafters out there, and then we'll try to get that other lantern that wasn't underwater going. I'm sure it'll come back around. But this may be to the point where even if it was even if I was able to get it back to life, I just don't know how much I trust that rusty old fount. So pause the camera for a few minutes. We'll clean this up just a little bit and then we'll move on to the other one. All right, I took it back to the sink, scrubbed it up a little bit. It's just too far gone. I'm looking at some of these spots down underneath the bottom here, and they're just, I wouldn't trust it. Even if I pressure tested it, I wouldn't trust it with gas in it to not start leaking all of a sudden. Poor old thing is just too bad a shape. But like I said, there's a lot of good parts. I didn't go crazy cleaning the glass, but I cleaned it enough that you can see there's no chips or breaks or cracks in it. We're just going to put all the pieces of it back together. It definitely has usable parts. The knob's nice. The nameplate on the knob, just hitting it with a plastic brush cleaned right up, so that would clean up good. And you might be able to salvage some other parts off of it. Like I said, the burner assembly, even the valve assembly, if you could get it apart, probably would still be fine. That vent, I just hit it with a plastic brush. I didn't even go any farther. It's got stuff on it. Those spots all will come off. And it's got a couple chips, but it's all in all is not bad. So good vent if you had one with a vent that was shot. Definitely a lot of parts that are worth hanging up in the rafters and saving, and when we need parts for another lantern, we got it there. But I'm throwing in the towel on that one. Actually, I better grab that again. I'm gonna need that for starting to clean up the other one, or I'll at least wipe all the water and rust debris off the table with it quick. So I'm gonna give up on the 200A. Sorry, Uncle Bob. I don't think it's worth trying to tear it apart, but this 220J, I don't see any reason why that'll take very long at all to get it going. Worst part's gonna be cleaning all the dust off of it. Take the vent and the glass back to the bathroom, to the sink, clean those up. Then I'll get the air turned on and get the blowgun, and I'll blow all the spider webs and stuff off the rest of this. Then we'll just get some glass cleaner and go over the fount with the glass cleaner, but I don't expect this to take too much to get it going. Okay, I cleaned the glass up a little bit. Just a little soapy water. Cleaned the vent up. Got the air compressor turned on and got a blowgun and blew down the rest of the lantern just to get all the loose debris off of it. I'm not restoring this. I'm just cleaning it up and getting it going. The compressed air didn't do the Coleman logo on the front of it any good. Most of it came flying right off of there. But honestly, by looking at this one, if somebody was looking for a 279 birthday lantern, it looks pretty good, pretty rebuildable for sure. Someone could make a very nice lantern out of this. It's obviously hung somewhere much drier than that flooded basement for a long time. Let's go ahead and just start knocking off all of this dust. After I remove the dust, there's a little rust around the collar on there, but that's not uncommon, and that is not enough to make me even think twice about this. Probably when I get it back home, I've got some paint that's Rust-Oleum paint, pretty darn close to this. Daub a little paint over it to try to keep it from rusting much more. Like I said, I'm not restoring this lantern. I'm just cleaning it up to get it working. It's not going to take very much to do that, I think. Let's go ahead and get the fuel cap out of the way here. Inside of the fuel cap looks brand new. Nothing to worry about there. I need to just leave that borescope out here. Every time I record and wish that I had it to show the inside of a tank, I don't have it here, and I never use it at home, so I'm just gonna bring it out and find a drawer to keep it in here. Oh dang, this would have been a good one to show too. It is spotless on the inside. Doesn't smell. Whoever used it drained it completely empty apparently, because there's no liquid left in it. Doesn't stink like Coleman fuel, doesn't stink like rotten gas. I know that the pump didn't pump. I tried that a few minutes ago, so let's pop this pump out of here. Take a look at it. Leather looks good, just a little dried out. It's still soft and pliable. I'll dip it in my jar of Marble Mystery Oil. Uh-oh. You know where the Marble Mystery Oil is at? Oh, here it is. I found it. Just dip it in there. Let that soak into that leather for a couple minutes. The leather actually looks really good. I think it didn't even look super dry. It just needs spread out a little bit. What the heck's going on with the flashlight? There we go. Check valve looks good. Check valve looks good and clean. How about that stem? Will that turn easily? Yeah. Heck yeah, that spins easy. I'm not even going to take that out. More often than not, these lanterns do not require much of anything to get them going if you haven't stored them underwater in a basement for a couple years. I'll even put that out there. I will say that in my opinion, you shouldn't store your lanterns underwater in a basement for a couple years. I think it's a bad idea. Huh, look at that. I've never come across that before. I don't know if the camera will be able to pick it up, but the little oil hole where you're supposed to be able to drop oil in there, I can see where they stamped it, but it never actually punched a hole in there. There's still a little piece of metal in there. Oh, I don't know where it went. I hit it with a screwdriver right there. There it is. There's the piece of metal that was still in there. So when they stamped that, it stamped, but it didn't actually knock the hole all the way through. That's kind of cool. This lantern does not show signs of ever having been used very much. Get on there. Hardest part of this sometimes is getting that metal clip back in there. Now let's clean up the knob just a little bit. Like I said, I'm not getting carried away. It's going to go home and get hung up in the rafters after I'll burn 2 or 3 tanks of fuel through it, make sure everything works on it. Use it for a couple weeks around home, burn some fuel through it, and then it'll get hung up, and it'll be one that I've got for if I want one for trading stock, or if somebody on the lantern group ever says I'm looking for a February '79 for a birthday lantern. This would definitely make a decent one for that. Let's give it a few pumps. I'm just holding my thumb over the filler cap. It definitely feels like it's pumping. We'll pump it up a little bit, and then I'll crack the valve, see if I hear any air hissing. I can feel pressure. It's pushing against my thumb pretty good now. Air's hissing. Turn the tip cleaner up, it stops. Turn it back down, it starts again. So I have no doubt that I'm going to be able to fuel this up and fire it up. Still using our vintage can of Coleman fuel. I got splatters of something sitting down there underneath the bench. We've been working on a lot of stuff out here. We probably should move this out of the way. Getting the graphics all messed up on my vintage can. Okay, let's fuel it up, pump it up. Then we'll tie a couple new mantles on it, burn them in. And we will see if this 45-year-old lantern wants to come back to life today. I'm going to go ahead and fill her up. I'm optimistic, like I often do. If it lights here today, I'll light it back up at home tonight and get a shot of it burning in the dark. I have noticed one thing on this old vintage fuel. I feel like I go through a tank of fuel in a lantern faster than on the new fuel. I don't know if that makes any sense or if it's true or not, but it does seem like when I fill a lantern up almost full, it doesn't last as long on this fuel from the 1970s as it does on the new fuel. If anybody else has ever noticed anything like that, leave it down in the comments. I've used it on a couple lanterns, and both times I thought, well, that burned out of fuel pretty quickly. Alright, we'll go ahead and pump it up, then I'll tie the new mantles on to burn them in. That way we're not shaking around the brand new mantles while I'm pumping it up. Okay, I'll put a couple of the new Coleman mantles on here. See if this thing will go. I'll pause the camera till I'm done tying mantles on here. You've seen that plenty of times before. There we go. Throw those strings on the floor. Dad can sweep them up next time he sweeps the floor. Let's grab a lighter out of the top of the toolbox. Burn these mantles in. I will even go ahead, throw the top back on there. I didn't clean up that ball nut, but I guess that's not very important. Let's see if this thing wants to light. I guess I could turn the tip cleaner a couple times just for good measure there. I hear it hissing. No gurgling yet. There it goes. There it goes. Now let's open that valve up all the way. That's not quite as bright as it looks like it should be, so let's give the tip cleaner a couple quick turns here. Still looks like we're not getting a good burn on the mantle on that side. Obviously, I didn't pull the burner out of it, so there is a chance that there could be some spider nests or something up there in that burner. Let's just give it a little more pressure first. This might be the one that makes me regret not pulling apart and cleaning the burner tube, because that mantle's not filling out all the way and not burning as bright as it should. Sometimes you can just cycle the tip cleaner a few times and get it to clean out, but don't know if that's going to be the case this time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull that apart. I may have just wasted a couple manholes too. I don't know if well, I know pulling the burner assembly part, I won't be able to save those manholes. But it's over burning on the one that's burning better and not even burning fully on the other one. So we got something living up inside of there. All right, I'm gonna shut it back down. Let it cool down for a few minutes till it's cool enough to touch. I've still got time here. We'll pull this apart quick and clean out that air tube. Okay, it's only been a couple minutes and it's still too hot to touch anything, but I get impatient waiting, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the generator pulled out of here. We know it's good. Tip cleaner worked, it passed fuel. That's probably not terribly hot down there at the bottom from no longer than we burned it. So we know we can go ahead and get that apart. I'm not worried about breaking the manholes because unfortunately I wasted a set of manholes here. They're not going to survive cleaning out the air tubes. No chance at all. So I'm not worried about those.
They're my mammals anyway.
Yeah, they're dad's anyway, so. This 4-pack I think cost him 98 cents, so I'll owe him $1 when we're done here. He can put it on my bill. I think that brings my bill up to about $1 million, so. On these models, this was a J or K, 220J. And these models, you take this little nut down here loose. You can slide this little shield out of there, and I'll have to look once I get the shield out, but I don't think you even have to take the nut clear off. I think once you get that shield out of the way, the hole's big enough to lift up off of there, but we'll get that nut out of the way and we'll look at it and see. Alright, let's see. I don't remember if I have to take that nut clear off or if I can just... Nope, I don't have to. I was right. You can take that out of the way and then that'll slide right off. Now, I'll get my pocket flashlight out again here. Look and see if I see anything. This is getting new enough now that they were starting to cut some corners on stuff and they don't have a threaded air tube anymore, so you can't easily take that out of there. When I shine my flashlight up the air tube, I don't see anything in there, but it definitely was burning better on one side than the other, so it could be way up in there. It all looks good from what I can see, but I'm going to get the blowgun, blow through all those. I guess I could see if my burner caps will come off. Sometimes they come off easily. On these ones that they're getting new enough that they're a little chintzier, they're all stamped metal parts. I don't try very hard.
No.
Yep, that one doesn't want to move.
This is all they're stamped right on or soldered on.
No, they will thread off of there, but I'm not going to fight it that hard to get them off of there.
Nope.
I can blow air back up through the screen. Actually, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but that screen even looks kind of nasty. It looks plugged up a little bit. So I'm going to spray a little brake parts cleaner through there and then blast some compressed air through there. Make sure that's all cleaned out good. We'll put it back together and we'll try this thing out one more time. I didn't see anything blast out of there, and I really can't see up these burner tubes worth a darn, but I didn't see anything nasty come out of there really. It doesn't seem to have any air restrictions. I can blow air in through either one of the burner caps, feel it blowing out the end. Like I said, I sprayed a bunch of brake parts cleaner through it. I don't know. We'll put it back together and we'll see if it's any better than it was. More often than not, it's just that there was something living inside of there at some time. Get the little plate back down in there. Snug that jam nut back down. It doesn't have to be ridiculously tight. I've seen people tighten them down so tight that they bend the bottom plate of the lantern, and there's no reason to have them that tight. They just have to be good and snug.
Can you use them old handles?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll save them and you can try to reuse them on something if you want. And we'll put the generator back in. Like I said, we know it worked. It passed air. We know that wasn't the issue. About did it backwards. You gotta get the top of the generator in first. Oh, come on. Gotta get the top of the generator in first, then get the little hook on the bottom of the tip cleaner hooked into that eccentric block that moves up and down and moves the tip cleaner when you turn the tip cleaner lever. Then slide the jam nut down and snug it up. They don't have to be super tight either. That's it, just finger tight and then a little snug. Here, I'm going to save those mantles right down there by those strings. Okay, new mantles are tied on. Let's burn these ones in and we'll see if blowing that out did any good at all. I know one thing, it didn't hurt any. Other than that one set of mantles. They are gone. Leo probably ate them.
Yeah.
They're not there on the floor anymore where I threw them. These aren't the radioactive ones though, so he should be fine.
He won't turn into a Ninja Turtle or something.
Or spider dog or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Alright, let's try this again. We'll let those burn for a minute till they get white.
Nice looking lantern.
I didn't do a very good job cleaning that vent, but I guess I just cleaned it with a plastic scrub brush and running water back in the sink, so didn't get very carried away with it. Alright, let's try this again. See what it does this time. That's more like it. Yeah, both the mantles puffed and filled right out like they're supposed to. Open the valve all the way. Give it a few more pumps of pressure. That's a lot better. That's nice and bright now. It's actually too bright to look at. I'm not even going to turn the tip cleaner. It doesn't need it. So there we go, folks. Another 45-year-old lantern back up and running. Burning nice and bright now. I'll let it burn for just a couple minutes here and shut it off, and then I'll light it back up this evening and we'll get a shot of it burning at home in the dark tonight. Well folks, it's about 9:30 at night here. I relit the old February 1979 220J at about 6 o'clock tonight. I haven't even pumped it again. It had pressure in it from when I pumped it up out of Dad's this morning, and I haven't even re-pumped it, and it's just sitting out here burning nice. So remember, if you like the videos we're making and you're enjoying the content we're putting out and you want to help support our channel, the best way you can do that, other than subscribing and giving the video a like, is when the ads come up, just let those ads play. If it's a really long ad, let the first 30 seconds play before you skip it. That's enough to make it count. Thanks for watching, folks. We appreciate each and every view. Come on back next week. We'll have a video or something here for you to watch.